In this episode, we will save your brain because when you have sleep apnea, this is what's going on. If you see the image over here, basically on the right, this is a normal, healthy brain. It's green on the scan because it's more active, there's more blood flow. And when you have sleep apnea, the blood flow starts to go down, and that's why the risk of dementia, as this big study showed, goes way up. The red bar is how much more neurodegeneration, aka brain breaking down, or as I call it, brain rot, is way higher when you have sleep apnea. That's why in this episode, we'll talk about the science backed, research backed, easy food to add to your diet that has been shown to get your brain back into a good place while avoiding the pitfalls. Because not just all about, chugging this food down and calling it a day. I'm Dylan Peckus. If we haven't met, these are things I wish I knew when I was reversing my own sleep apnea back in medical school. And of course, this is for educational purposes only. Always talk to your doctor before ever eating anything. We'll get to that food in 45 seconds, but we need to talk about the main mechanism by which this happens so that you know why that food is helpful for you. So, the basic thing is when your oxygen levels are going all over the place like a slinky on a roller coaster, what happens is there's a lot of damage inside of your brain at night. And you also don't repair your brain because usually, if you slept nice and normally, your brain repairs itself at night. So it's actually this double-edged sword, if you will, of you can't repair your brain at night, you get more damage. But we need to know exactly where that damage is accumulating, and it happens to be in your mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. Go ahead, activate that eighth grade core memory from science class. And as that's happening, then that leads to inflammation. So that's why this food that we'll talk about here, MCTs, medium chain triglycerides, that will selectively target your mitochondria to help undo that brain damage. So, like I said, the food is MCT oil, and the research is pretty great supporting this here. So, we're looking at bigger studies that are called meta analysis. If we think of all the different levels of scientific evidence, this is at the top of the pyramid. It is lonely by its level of success in showing us how things work. So, there's this one where they looked at a bunch of different ones, 848 participants in total across 10 clinical trials. MCT oil, big thumbs up in having significant improvements in cognitive function. And another study where they looked at many other ones, they looked at different cognitive scores. And the red here is after using MCT oil, so it goes way up. That's great. So, how that works MCT oil, it improves the mitochondria, and that's how it improves the brain because your brain is filled with mitochondria inside of your neurons. And it does this in many different ways. Number one, it will supply ketones that are great fuel sources to a pretty much energetically dying brain. Sounds pleasant, right? MCT oil can also trigger your cells, your neurons to clean themselves out. It also enhances different chemicals to help your brain work better, and it will directly lower inflammation that's caused by those big swings in oxygen. So that's why MCT oil to the mitochondria are a big benefit. Now, before we talk about how to use MCT oil, I want to help you prevent some disasters because I know people often watch an episode, they drop off. So I figured I'd put the part about diarrhea a little earlier in the video because I don't want to respond to those comments later. Diarrhea is a no-no. So what happens is a clinical entity known as disaster pants. When someone gets really excited about MCT oil or coconut oil, we'll talk about that in a moment. What happens is that it runs through their system because they took too much at once and then they're on the toilet, and that's not going to be good for your day or your brain. So that's why you want to not go with the fast and hot approach, but instead go with low and slow and what that looks like. Because when we look at those studies, most of them were in the 2 to 3 tablespoon range of MCT oil. Oftentimes, people will find a better balance, 1 to 3, depends on you and your body size. But regardless, that does not mean jump up to 3 or say, hey, double it and give it to the next person. You want to start in the teaspoon range. And nobody knows why. It's a big mystery of the universe, but there's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. And you want to just start as low as you can and make sure that your gut can actually tolerate MCT oil before turning it up to 11 like Spinal Tap. And I thought it'd be helpful to give an illustration of a tablespoon versus a teaspoon in case you forgot. I don't know. But this is also where coconut oil comes into the picture. So coconut oil does contain MCT oils. In fact, about half of the lipid content inside of coconut oil is MCT, medium chain triglyceride, and there's many other great things inside of coconut, whether it's lauric acid or just the smell of coconut. However, if your main goal is to get more MCT oil into your diet, you will have to have twice as much as the target amount here. So what I mean is, let's say you're going for 2 tablespoons. well, then you would need to go to 4 tablespoons of coconut oil. It's totally doable, but I just want you to know because when we talk about those studies, the best evidence is on MCT oil. There are some on coconut, but just want to give the strongest level of evidence for you here. So now that we hopefully circumvented diarrhea, which sounds like a memoir from someone who explored in the 14 or 1500s and got a lot of travelers diarrhea, here's how to best use MCT oil. So we're going to go through the course of the day, I guess in a way that's not perfectly ordered like this. Number one, you can just put it in some coffee or whatever. Coffee, tea, smoothie, put a tablespoon in there. That's real easy. Number two is incorporating it into food. So you can actually use it as part of a salad dressing. If you're, super cool like that, you make your own salad dressing. You can just substitute olive oil for MCT oil. Works just fine. Another good one is using it as a cooking oil. Now, you do wanna do, like, low heat, like low medium, not medium, but, like, low medium, when sautéing vegetables or frying eggs of that matter, I mean, or egg scramble that way. That's another great way to do it, and then you can also just put it in soups if you're into that. But either way, just find something that works for you, where usually what I've done in the past or others have done as well, just having a little bit at each meal because we want to avoid the 3 tablespoons at once running off to the bathroom. You may get some more steps in, but you're losing a lot of hydration the wrong way. Now, admittedly, MCT oil is a band-aid because if your breathing is still really bad at night, you're still going to be having that inflammation and just using MCT oil to counteract it. Don't get me wrong, it's still a great band-aid or bridge to get you through. But again, the fact of the matter is when you're not breathing well at night, you have this irregular inhale, pulling your tongue and all that, it's going to be causing issues. But by getting your breathing to a place where it's slower and steadier, you're supporting healthier breathing, then sleep becomes a lot better. So I'm always shocked when people don't know that we have a free breathing protocol to help you get started with that. Sometimes people just know me for one video or another, but this is the foundation of knowledge to go from a bunch of different videos to the fastest path to getting better sleep at night. And it's free. So all you got to do is click this button in the middle here. Or if you're like 40% of people watching on TV, just go to that URL there. That's apneareset.com/show. Or just click the button here, the red one, not the arrows pointing down, but the red one here. So either way, I'm Dylan Peckus. I'll see you on the next page.